Hello YouTube, Cousin Kinoko here. Welcome to the third part in my Tokyo pickup videos, and this time I'm gonna show you all the Super Famicom games that I picked up during my trip to Tokyo. I didn't pick up as many Super Famicom games as I picked up Sega Saturn and Famicom games. But I did pick up a few titles. We have some crappy ones here, and towards the end of the video there will be some quite rare and quality titles as well. So let me just go right ahead and start. First off, I got this from Softmap, so it was half price, 25 yen only. Picked this up because of the label. I thought it was kind of promising. A little bit disappointed that it's actually a pachinko game, and I'm not really into playing pachinko, so guess I'm gonna try and sell this at some point. This game is called Gindama Oyakata no Pachinko Hishuhu. Don't exactly know how to pronounce that, but yep. Then we have Samurai Spirits. Outside of Japan, this is known as Samurai Showdown. And this game is called Magical Taruruto-kun Magic Adventure for 280 yen. And this is quite a nice title actually. It plays, well, it borrows a lot from Super Mario World. The music and the sound effects and somehow the style, but it plays a little bit differently, and it is a platformer with like an overworld in the same style as Super Mario World, and you're playing as this character here, and your attack is basically licking enemies with your massive tongue, which is quite absurd, but it seems like a decent title. And then we have Ryoku Noken S Golden Fighter, and this game is also known as Ultimate Fighter in the US. And this is I think it's some kind of beat 'em up, but a really slow and lame beat 'em up. Final Fight 2. Of course, this has also been released in Europe, but it's quite hard to find and quite an expensive title to pick up. So when I found this for 630 yen, I decided to pick it up, as I'm a big fan of Final Fight. And this is a racing game called Minionku Shining Scorpion Let's and Go. And the Let's and Go with two exclamation marks there. And yeah, I haven't tried this game so far, so I don't really know much about it. But I paid 300 yen for it, so it's quite a cheap title to pick up. And then we have Super Pung. And this was also released in the US and in Europe as well. In the US, this game is known as Super Buster Bros. And I'm a big fan of Pung. The game is very hard to find in Europe, so I decided to pick this up, as it was only 630 yen. And I picked up Final Fantasy 4 and 5. These games were never released outside of Japan. I'm a big Final Fantasy fan. I played this on my PC maybe 8 or 9 years ago on an emulator, but now it's quite nice to have the cartridges as well, if only for the shelf. And I think these were re-released for the DS or something with some kind of updated graphics, but I don't have those versions. But they were really cheap. Got these at Softmap, so Final Fantasy 4 was 100 yen and Final Fantasy 5 was 50 yen. So that's basically nothing, which is why I decided to pick them up. And then we have, this game was a bit of a disappointment. I saw it said Jalico, so I thought I took a gamble and I thought it could be a nice game. I only paid 25 yen for it, so wasn't really any risk involved, but turns out it's a football game. Takeda Nobuhiro no Super Cup Soccer. So I'm gonna try and sell that or get rid of that somehow. And then I picked up Super Chinese World 1 and 2, and I picked these up because it looks like they look like beat 'em ups on the labels. Well, it turns out these are actually RPG beat 'em ups with a lot of text, so if you don't know Japanese, they are not really they're kind of hard to play without knowing any Japanese, so a little bit of a disappointment there, but they do look like really good games, and RPG beat 'em ups, that sounds really promising, but unfortunately I don't know if I'm gonna be bothered to play those with all that text that's involved. This is a fighter. It's called SD Ryoku Noken, or Fist of the Flying Dragon, a Japanese exclusive. And I also picked up the sequel. This sequel is called Ryoku Noken 2, another Japanese exclusive there. And I picked up an Ultraman game, and I thought this was a Japanese exclusive, but it was actually released in the US as well, where it's known as Ultraman Towards the Future, and it's a pretty bad game, so I kind of regret picking that up, and I should have either not picked it up at all or picked up the US version instead. So, and this game has like the best title ever. It's called Muscle Bomber: The Body Explosion, and this game is known in the US as, or outside of Japan, it's known as Saturday Night Slam Masters. And this is a really good wrestling game actually from Capcom. You can play as a tag team, co-op, or I think you can hook up the multi-tap and play 4-player as well. Definitely a recommended title, and I think it's quite a well-known title as well. I just got confused because the title was Muscle Bomber and not Saturday Night Slam Masters. Then we have a horizontally scrolling shoot 'em up here, Dimension Force, and this was also released in the US as D-Force from Asmic World here. Paid 100 yen for this, and it's quite a mediocre shoot 'em up, but for 100 yen I think it's worth picking up. This is Super Bomberman Panic Bomber W. This is a Japanese exclusive, and I paid 180 yen for this. Another Japanese exclusive here, we have Mario and Wario, and this is supposed to be a really good game. I think it's some kind of puzzle game. Unfortunately, this doesn't work on my PAL Super Nintendo with a universal adapter for some reason. So I guess I'll have to get either a Super Famicom or an American Super Nintendo to run this game. And actually some of the other games also didn't work on the universal adapter, like Panic Bomberman, for instance. And now we're getting to the good stuff. First off, we have Knights of the Round from Capcom. This is a very famous and sought after beat 'em up, and it was also released outside of Japan, but it's really hard to find and really expensive, so I decided to pick up the much cheaper Japanese version of this game for 1,800 yen. Another Japanese exclusive here, Super Bomberman 5, and number 4 was also never released outside of Japan. And I just realized that in my previous video I said that Layer Section 2 for the Sega Saturn was the most expensive game that I bought during my trip, but I was actually wrong. It's this game, 2,800 yen. Hopefully it's worth it. I'm a big fan of Bomberman, and I have a lot of expectations about this game, so I've never played any of the Super Bomberman games, so I'm quite excited to try this. And finally, this is a game that is extremely expensive outside of Japan, but the Japanese version is apparently much cheaper, and that is a Rockman X3. This is known as a Mega Man X3 outside of Japan, and I have X1, but X3 is like, well, the Japanese version here cost me a bit more than 20 euros, and I think in Europe you have to pay at least 10 times that price, so definitely worth picking up the Japanese version. And I'm not sure, but I don't think there is a lot of text in it. It came with a manual as well, so yeah, quite happy about picking that up. And now I'm only missing X2, then I have all 3 of the games. So that's it for my Super Famicom pickups. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and until next time.